Why do I gotta make it so complicated? Why do these nerd burglars have to complicate everything? Oh, shit. Let's see here. See if we can find a place that's good. Let's take this brightness all the way up. I don't know why my phone likes to default to not having maximum brightness. I always want my phone, unless I just woke up, I want my phone as bright as it could possibly freaking be. I want to be able to see what I'm doing. Okay. So here we are with what we were painting yesterday and before we got cut off. Not really cut off, but you know, it doesn't notify me that we're not online anymore. So something's going on with the internet, and there's no one at home other than me. So there is no reason why it shouldn't be working extra smooth now. Ah, there you are. The woman slayer. How many women have you slayed today? So I don't do anything differently, ever. As I like to say, technology is great when it works. When it doesn't, I wish it was never invented. So I wasn't here Sunday evening. I stayed overnight, and because I stayed overnight for a concert, I got like no sleep that night. I had to drive back from Tampa, so we obviously missed Monday, and then Tuesday the girls were kind of wrapping stuff up, so I didn't go online Tuesday. So I made an attempt to go on yesterday for about an hour, and that didn't go well. So I don't know what it is. All of a sudden, this doesn't want to. It wants to misbehave. Now, one thing that did happen differently. One thing that did happen different when I went and started the feed yesterday. It mentioned something. It was something different, like there's like a. And I don't know that it was that, but it's awfully coincidental that it made like do you promise them not to have any like violent things, or like I don't know, almost like they had too many complaints about say videos that happened say over the weekend involving a shooting that they didn't want them put on the internet. I don't know what it is, but it did ask me that, and then it said hey, we got you're on, and it never told me I wasn't. So I think when I go back to the computer, I'm going to have to change from time. It was an hour and nobody came on. That's really weird. I mean, I even have some up Periscope people, like some people will come in, see what's going on, realize that Mitch's feet aren't being shown, and they leave again. Something. But you guys didn't miss anything other than me painting this, the base color of this nonsense. So that's what we're going to do next. You mean the event with Retardy Oswald? Yeah. And just proof that you can't see the news. The following morning that happened, there was all kinds of conspiracies going from legitimate conspiracies of they're taking him out to he staged it. Yeah, let's stage. By the way, I want you to shoot at me, but just nick me. It's just I don't listen to the news. There's just all kinds of lies out there. Some people are just I like you for who you are, not for the stories that you tell. As a friend of mine used to say a long time ago. So we need to paint the sidewalks again. I'm not going to focus painting on top of all of this. I'm just going to go over the gray on the sidewalk part. That's what we're going to do. You heard the guy's new nickname and got a laugh out of it. Yeah, and then all kinds of people pushing false narratives. And I got something that I looked at when I got home, and I'm like, I don't even follow that kind of stuff. So I did finish the book on killing Kennedy. It was pretty interesting, coincidentally enough, before that event happened. So maybe does that make me a suspect? I don't want to be famous. I'm not interested in being famous. I'd rather be a hermit than be famous. Okay. Yeah, before I do that, let's go ahead and get the gray and go over these areas in gray. So we have a better. Yeah, I was even showing what I did with the bricks and everything, you know. This is the original color of the bricks. And we stained them with a wash, and they look a heck of a lot better. And I did a couple different batches of them, including with Nuln Oil, just regular craft paint, and then the strong tone. And of all of them, the strong tone turned out the worst. It almost looks like oily. So the best one was just the craft paint. And the cheapest one was the craft paint. So I don't know if this dried out. We did this one yesterday. Yeah, it's pretty dry. Let's go ahead and just do another batch. All this hopping around because things take time. Look at that. Look how good that looks. Compared to this rosé. This looks good. Looks really good. This is the best batch yet. Hot damn. Okay, so let's do the same thing, and we're going to put some more. We're going to combine all this stuff. Yeah, that's the best batch so far. Huh. Go figure. Picked some yellow black wash to use on the adobe buildings and areas, but hasn't arrived yet. Yeah, well, it matches also what's on the buildings, you know. I really don't want to do the mortar in between the bricks for multiple reasons. The main one is because it's counterintuitive. Now, I paint everything that I paint, the recesses are the darkest spots. And mortar is the opposite. I mean, unless you're using a really light colored brick, the brick is going to be darker than the mortar color, almost consistently. That's, not taking into account any weathering. You're always going to have, the mortar is going to be darker, lighter than the brick color. And it's weird to have a recess that's lighter than the surface. It's counterintuitive. It's the same reason why I don't use dusting effects on like tires, So it's just kind of messes with your head. And I might actually be out of this stuff. So we're going to have to make another batch. Look at the color difference of just pouring this over here. No. Snapdragon. Come on. Big difference there. So we're gonna make another batch. And how dirty is this water? Now let's be consistent. Let's go grab some clean water from the fridge. Filtered water. This has tremendous pressure. Unnecessarily tremendous pressure. And let's get the old blackout. I think we just used Deco Art for this. We didn't need to use the super one. This weekend, though, I should be on quite a bit. There's no girls here to distract me. I'm not planning on going out of town. Notice how I worded that. I'm not planning on going out of town. Never know. This just dries in one day easy. So I'm reading this, the book I'm currently reading on my drive, or having it read to me, like a small child. It's story time and it's being read to me. Is the Killing the Rising Sun one. Now, I'm not a big fan of Bill O'Reilly, but his writing style is it keeps things entertaining the way he moves from place to place. I'm sure he corroborates with other folks on it, but I enjoy the Reagan one. I enjoy the Kennedy one. I enjoy the Patton one. I didn't like too much, and he narrated it, and it was really annoying every time he talked about how it was a 155 gun. No, it's a 155 millimeter, dumbass. Like, get out of here, stupid newsy. But I just decided I really enjoy the Kennedy one, so I'm like, well, let's do the Rising Sun one because I'm not an expert on the Pacific War and probably never will be, not compared to the other theaters. And I got a pretty strong stomach to read about stuff. I got a soft spot when it comes to nuclear weapons and how fucked up it is that you could be like vaporized and there's like nothing left of you. It just the way it's described. I'm having a hard time digesting it. It's really good, but man, it's just difficult. Like some people can't read, stuff about wars. I can read war stuff all the time, but just cruel, fucked up deaths that are skin peeling, and it's not even combat soldiers. It's people that are behind the scenes. And I have a hard time with that. I had a hard time with the nuclear war book that I was talking about that I read a couple of months ago, maybe a month ago. It went into a lot of that detail. I just have a hard time with that. I'm not a fan of nuclear weapons. It's really the worst. If you could guarantee that by not using nuclear weapons against Japan, no other nuclear weapons would have been made by anybody, I would have said, let's do not do them. Absolutely do not do them. Now, if it's going to be like, well, we got to develop them because the Russians are going to get them anyways, well, then you don't have a choice. But it's literally the worst invention ever. It's almost as bad as ketchup. Absolutely not a fan of them. Okay. And I suspect most people aren't. But what are you going to do, Thought I was going to use a dirty paint and water. Well, I was going to use it as the base. I was still going to add paint to it. Okay. So we're going to need a palette. And I did it again. I stayed at a hotel and I didn't turn in the key card. So we're going to use a key card from Hilton Honors. Stayed in a hotel that actually smelled like dog a little bit. Just mildly. When you don't have pets, you can smell a pet a mile away. Now, pet owners probably can't smell them, but I've never grown up with any pets, So I can, I can smell that dog stank. I didn't know dogs were allowed to stay in a hotel room. Seems kind of unsanitary to me. Let me get a paper towel. And I don't dislike dogs at all. I just don't want to be in the house with them. Like, I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem. Well, Rick's on here. Rick makes people. Rick, you've got carpet in your basement, which is probably not a good idea. I'm anti-carpet, but you make people take. Looks like you make people take their shoes off when you come into the house, which is a good idea. But if you had dogs, I'm not taking my fucking shoes off in a house that has dogs. Dogs taking his shit and not wiping his ass, but yet I have to take my shoes off. I mean. And I like dogs. I don't have a problem with them. As a matter of fact, as I'm getting older, I like them more because I think that dogs would misbehave more when I was a kid. Maybe I was more scared of dogs. I was afraid of a dog coming and biting me. Now I'm an adult. I'm popping with a 9. Walking out in the neighborhood or whatever, you come at me. No, actually, I think dogs are better behaved now than they used to be in the 80s, in the 70s and the 80s. The kids are worse behaved. That's what the difference is. There's your trade-off. So we're going to repaint this area around here that would get the sidewalk, just so we get. Oh, Rick's either not on here anymore or he's still laughing about it. I don't wear shoes in my house. Well, half the time when I come in, if I come in from work, my work shoes stay in the garage. There's just too much dust and there's just too much dust, period, for them to come in the house. And at that point, I just kind of got used to it. I'm like, well, there's no point in. I saw some post one time and I said, how come you Americans wear shoes inside the house? Not me. Now, if I go to somebody's house and they have a dirty house, I'm not taking my shoes off. Usually those people have their shoes on anyways. Usually. Yeah, if you ever see a video of mine, and it's only 39 seconds long, you can already write down, yep, Tony was pissed about this one. That's not my intention. Hey, I got a good track record of what you can expect from me. That's not one of them. So if that kind of stuff's happening, I mean, unless there's some kind of an emergency, I don't plan on being on here less than an hour. Although sometimes I've bored myself and I had to shut down after 20 minutes. That's because there was nobody here. Can't stay long tonight. Hey, Rick, going out to play Suwalki Gap. Fairly new World War III game. Basically, what if Putin went west instead of into Ukraine? No, so if you went to Poland or whatever. Rick, you need some. I know you said you enjoy it, but there's at least two people that you're friends with on Facebook that I've blocked, and they haven't even said anything to me. And a couple of them, I'm not really an ill wishing person, but I hope something happens to one of them. I'm not willing to do it, but I just, one of those guys. Of course, I don't know what he's saying. Maybe he's just a reform, but one of those guys you're friends with needs to spend a lifetime in Cuba or North Korea or something like that. I know you enjoy sparring. I don't. I don't mind having a discussion, but I don't have a problem. I really don't want to get into it with people that just there's no hope for them to come around to normality. They must be your soccer buddies. That guy's not a friend. Yeah. What's that guy's name? I can't remember what his name is anymore. He's a half Asian guy, and it's not because he's half Asian. I don't got anything against Asians. I mean, I don't like the Chinese government, but I don't have a problem with Chinese people. I love their history. I had to block him before he raised my blood pressure. That guy needs to go to North Korea, and they can practice throwing axes at him or something. There's no hope in a free society for him. Oh man. It would be nice to get all of these buildings done by the end of the weekend. So I'd like to set something up with like, photos or something like that. So I can kind of, it's really for me more than anything else. I kind of see, okay, where do we need more rubble? Do we need more, that kind of stuff. I'm half tempted in the car and I'm half tempted to go in the car and go pick something up at a place I saw in Orlando, but that just doesn't make any sense. One of those things that you're like, man, I don't know if I should buy this, so you don't. And then, which a lot of people would do the opposite. They'd buy it and then realize they don't use it. But I'm trying to be super thrifty about. I don't want to buy things and not do anything with them. It really kind of hurts my soul. But I've done it so many times in the past, and it's really like makes me feel yucky. But I didn't buy this stuff in a hobby store, and I did take pictures of them. I'm better off just overpaying them and Amazoning them or whatever than spending 3/4 of a tank of gas going to Orlando and coming back. Plus all the hassle of dealing with every crazy on I-75. By the way, Chatter is about to not accept a nomination. Okay. Well, we'll see. It's not like I'm waiting in line to vote for that guy. Oh, man. All right. No. So this area, we've got some areas on this that we're going to do something a little different. There's areas that are legitimately under part of it. I think I'm going to just paint them black because there's no way you can go in there. And it's not. because they're flat to the ground. And I'll show you what I mean by that. This is the factory. Okay, this is the factory. So this is the floor plan of this particular building here. Now the reason it needs a floor plan is because it has no floor. So if you have things happening in here, and you lift this to see what's going on, if you don't have a floor, the relative location of where everybody is can get lost. Okay? But you don't need a floor under here, underneath this, because it's just a pile of bricks. You can't crawl underneath that. So that's the part that I'm probably just going to go ahead and paint black. And it sits just like this. Okay? The factory, which is actually, well, the top floor is the Swan Pharmacy. I guess that's what that means. So we're just going to film on the phone, which the only problem with filming on the phone is it's going to be maxed out at 720. And really the biggest problem I have with it is that if I'm doing something and you can't really tell what I'm doing, I can't take a picture of it and then show you the picture up close on the camera because the phone is a camera. So from my standpoint, that's the biggest pain in the butt of it. The 720 doesn't make that much of a difference. Most of you guys are just have me on for noise, background noise. So I suspect. But it doesn't allow me to take a picture of it with my camera and then show you guys up close. So you can see kind of a hint of what I'm saying. Did I see work? It did, but it wasn't available today. Is it available now? Yeah, it's I saw that you liked it on their page. Yeah, I'm dying for that thing to. They said it was available tomorrow, which could be really soon. Yeah, I don't want to get the physical copy. First of all, you got to wait longer. And then I'm worried about, anything that I read, I am super anal retentive about it being dog-eared or anything. So, then I can print whatever I want with the articles. That's what I do. I've got this, where's my blue folder here? Is it in here? Yeah. I can just print, and they're in plastic coated pages. I can just print out what I want. Why is it backwards? Hopefully yours isn't backwards. We're back to that backwards shit again. Like I said, I don't do anything different. I could just print the pages that I want. So I prefer that. And it's cheaper. And I get it immediately. That's the most important thing. Really? You're going to be a dick like that? And my place is organized. So, yeah, I'll check it out this evening if that's the case. It's correct on our end. Okay, good. Yeah, I saw that he announced it, and then it's like, it's not available. Yeah, I wish they wouldn't announce what was in the issue, because it's like, the anticipation's killing. Here's what it is. I want to be excited that there's going to be something Normandy related on there, and then I'll get it and I'll be like, huh, I could have come up with something that would have been just as exciting. But, there's just kind of this sense of almost like you need some legitimacy or something like that. It's like, oh, it's coming from an official source. So this might be, certain something or another. But I'll tell you what, I've had a hard time sourcing. And it's not really that big of an issue because I'm working on this right now. But still, the next vehicle I need to get is some M10s, tank destroyers. There's a scenario in one of these, from War Game Soldiers and Strategy, and it involves a couple Panthers and 4 or 5 U.S. tank destroyers. Here it is right here. It's called Ursula and Elna. It's in, what series? Number 114. And it has a bunch of tank destroyers, a little map here with hedgerows and stuff like that. You need 2 Panthers. I got plenty. I got like 6. And 3 M10s. Plus a 4th one. And on turn 10, another one. Well, turn 10 in my game takes forever. That's 10 turns is long, but so my tank destroyer options are either buy ones that look like ass, no. Buy ones that are from UM, but they're like $30 a piece almost. By tiny factory and shipping. You gotta build them. I don't care about building them. I'm pretty good at building stuff. It takes time, but I'm not really in a rush to do this. The 3D printed ones by that one guy that's in the UK. I love all his stuff, but his shipping kills me. Shipping's like $20 or something like that for shipping. And I just think that they're out of scale a little bit. I've looked at those. There's this company called Excise Miniatures. I don't know whether it's just the sculptor that does it, but several different people actually 3D print them. And sometimes, if their pictures are accurate, a lot of times it looks kind of like they're superhero-like. Almost like they're out of scale a little bit. I don't know if that's the case, but I'd certainly hate to get things that are, squatty looking. And then it doesn't match the rest of the stuff I have, so. All right, let's lay out some of these, what the hell am I trying to say? I don't know, do I? Sidewalk. Let's start with the boulangerie. Sounds like laundry made of bread. Bread laundry. Is that this one? It is. Okay, same thing. This has an area that's going to be black. This stuff dries really fast now. So we have a lot of area that's dead, like here. This doesn't need a bottom underneath it. You just use it here. So if somebody is, hey, we got real props here. These guys don't have bushes on them right now. But if we have this Lanzer Langer is sitting here defending this building, he'd be here. He doesn't need to be here. Because as soon as you put him here, then you got to move him again, because when you put this back down, it doesn't fit there. Just kind of trying to isolate problems before I see them. So for instance, this whole area can be black, as can this area here. Matter of fact, why don't we go ahead and do that? Because we know, let's use the good paint. Where's my good black? The folk art black. I'm just going to open this up. this paintbrush is just fine. Now, the other good thing about craft paint is craft paint seems to thin with water a lot better. It doesn't repel with water. It seems to work pretty well with it. Like this stuff's pretty thick. This is almost kind of like Liquitex tube stuff. You know, Liquitex tube paints. It's almost like that. So I'm going to go in. I'm going to paint this area black. We're going to do this building, and we're going to do this one all the way from beginning to the end. Where are you putting the building when people are both upstairs and downstairs? Just off the table or off to the side? I plan on putting it back I know, and I could end up going crazy. But like if you've got, say, these guys that are in here, right? This fits, don't roll on me. This fits over them. Well, I can't set it down because I put paint. And they stay in there. And as soon as they move out, you know, but guys can stay on here. So I just put it back on every turn. Now that may end up being annoying, but I think that's initially what I'm gonna do. But I'm willing to change my plan depending on what the situation calls for. I don't have any concrete plans on stuff other than I wanted to solve the issue with the trees because the trees look like shit with the stands on them. It's really distracting. It's like a bike with training wheels. Well, I think we're going to use this. A lot of shit that could spill and create a bunch of trouble for me. I don't need any more fires to put out. Let's get Langer out of here. And I'm not painting any of the dismounted crews for any of the vehicles. I'm going to see how it plays and see if I even need them. I mean, they're not going to bail out of the vehicle unless they're, you know, it's catching fire. The objective of that particular scenario actually requires them to be moving around and stuff. I'm just kind of figuring this out as I go. I may decide, well, you know, I don't need to. I mean, black covers better than any other color on here. Only reason I painted some of the walls is just to kind of give it the, I don't know, just to give it some kind of detail. Well, had I gone to Historicon this year, I'd be there. But since I didn't, I'm not there. See how that works? I didn't go last year either. And I don't know, my interest in going to Historicon has really dwindled. You spend a lot of time in the car. There's a lot of pain in the ass for it. Forget the cost. There's a lot of pain in the ass for it. And honestly, the only reason I could think to do it would be to look at the stuff the vendors have. I don't need any more stuff. They rarely have 20 millimeter things. They barely have 15 millimeter stuff. It's all 28, 28, 28, 28, 28, 28, 28, 28. It's like, geez, man. Not buying any 28 millimeter stuff. But anyways, getting back to the M10s, the die-cast ones are prohibitively expensive, like $50 for one, and I'm going to repaint it. And there's like one purveyor that actually like 3D prints stuff, but they use like the PLA stuff, and you can see all the like little lines and stuff in it. I'm like, I'd rather pay $30 for an M10 than spend freaking 4 hours cleaning it up. Actually, I'd rather do none, which is why I haven't bought any. Okay. But I'm figuring a lot of this stuff out as I go. So I'm not like set in my ways, like it's got to be this way, or, I don't know. I'm going to do no. I know this isn't dry yet. I'm still putting this on it. Because I need this on top of it when I go and do the next step. And that is get the Nolan oil out. The effort of going to con shows normally outweighs the joy of being there, as you say. If you don't need anything at all, there's the games. Yeah, and I don't feel. I mean, I haven't played a game face to face with someone in months, and I don't feel the huge urge to do it. And it's not like it was a bad experience. It's just I've played a lot of games, you know. I've played a lot of games. I don't. I'm never going to run a game at a con, ever. I don't have to worry about, okay, we got to get done at a certain time, or then you got some asshole that you never want to see again that's never going to play your game anyways. Like, I don't want to waste my time on this person. Especially that one experience that I saw somebody went and picked miniatures and just like manhandled it. I'd probably lay hands on somebody that did somebody like that. Either that or yell at them really, really loud, and I can be really loud. I don't need that shit in my life. Now, this is all going to be big cells. Huh. Yeah, what you wrote stays on my screen. This technology is just a motherfucker sometimes. You know, just when you have it figured out, that nerd burglars decide to throw a wrench into the mix. Yeah, now it disappeared again. So let's see if I can make it. Let's see if I can. If I hold that. Now, I got to be careful when I get to this because I still want the corner end here. There's that one. Yeah, fortunately, I don't really need anything. As much as I would like to, like I said, have 7 and 10s, doesn't really matter. If I need them bad enough, I'll get them from, I'll find a way to get them. And I don't. I mean, you know. Yeah, this little gap needs to go ahead and get painted. The only reason I have it is so it shows where that wall goes through. And it's just so difficult to take time off of work. And I've had to do these back-to-back vacations that we took this year. It was a pain in the ass for work, that's for sure. Whoa, that's not gonna work. I pretty much decided I wasn't gonna go when I found out that, oh, because the hotel the convention is held at sells out within like 3 minutes. I mean, literally within 3 minutes, you can't get a room. The room block isn't big enough. By the time I found out that it was even going on sale that day, whatever day that was in January, they were already gone. Because you can't just like book a room now, or do it at the last convention you were at. Oh, we didn't have a thunderstorm today. That was a miracle. I welcome the rain. I just don't want to. I just don't like thunderstorms. Okay. Yeah, if I don't do that, if I don't do those cracks, it just looks wrong. It just looks wrong. So I actually wasn't really happy with the way it was looking until I did the brown wash over it, and it looked a lot better. Uh-oh, what happened? Now I got no chat messages. What the hell? You like the sign? The Hoffman's back. By the way, have you ever subbed to War Games Illustrated before? I have not. Um, I have copies that I've gotten either free from Historicon or copies that were hand-me-downs from like the 90s a long time ago. I don't have a problem with War Games Illustrated. I just think that War Games Soldiers and Strategy seems to have more articles. I like the style of it done a lot better. So, you've been watching Bill Molyneux's videos from Historicon. They're doing Pickett's Charge in 54 millimeter. Why are you guys so interested in our Civil War? It's not that interesting. Our Civil War. My people weren't over here during that time. What was the magazine you just mentioned? War Games, Soldiers, and Strategy. Here, I'll show you. The new episode. The new episode is supposed to be out tomorrow, which I don't know if that means midnight or what have you. This. So I like that you get the PDF stuff, and I don't know. Does War Games Illustrated also do the PDF thing? I want the PDF thing because then I can just print what I need. You know, and I look at stuff like this, and this is what I want to see. I want to see like these, stuff that's painted that's inspirational the way it's done. See these assholes that play these games that look like this? I'm going to be one of these assholes, or I'm not going to play a game. I want my stuff to look like this. They have these games that look great, and then they play, games that are a bit vague for my taste. Look at this. Who the hell would want to play this? Who the hell would want to play this? Well, now we got quite a bit of rubble. I'm going to do some photo ops this weekend. The girls are gone, so we got lots of bricks now that we've stained, and they look equivalent to what my building's bricks look like. This is the latest batch. Came out really well. I will be buying more of these bricks. When I do buildings in other colors, I'll be buying the bricks and then staining them. Airbrushing, that's just ridiculous. Just drop them in some, just stain them. pretty easy to do. Can look into it. You write for a living, so I want to write something for one of these publishers. I think they will like my Three Kingdoms I wrote in Fanaticus a few years ago. So I wanted to. They're always looking for people to write articles. So I looked into this war game soldiers and strategy, and because the first thing I could think of is I'm going to submit an article. It's going to be the one about using this because I think it's amazing and it's so freaking simple about cleaning your brushes with it, right? It's something that would benefit everybody, regardless of whether or not you do World War II stuff. If you're one of these people that still uses enamel paints, well, there's no hope for you. But other than that, I think it's a valuable thing to have on there. I'm like, maybe they'll give you like free articles or something. No, they like literally legitimately pay you a bit of money, actually. But then, who knows when they're going to publish it? And I'm like, fortunately, I don't need the money. Not that I'm rich or anything, but, fortunately, I don't need the money. And they're allowed to change your article however they see fit. And then you're like, the more I read into it, I'm like, nah, I'm good. I don't do this for the money. I don't do this for the money. The fact that this channel's monetized, okay, well, YouTube's going to get some of the revenue. I might as well get some of it as well. And then I can buy a stand or something for the computer and not feel bad about it. It's going right back into this. But I do this because of the love of me doing this, not because I'm interested in, and trying to take money from somebody else. What the fuck is that? Hold on one second. Two dishes and they gotta make sounds. Well, I'm still not washing you right now. I'm doing my show. Bugger off. Board Games Industry to do a Prime subscription allows access to all the back issues digitally. Okay. You don't want the money, need you buff out your resume. You like to write. I hate to write. Good for you. And I wonder if my hating to write it has to do with I hate typing things because when I went to school, my teachers or I didn't do a good job of like organizing my thoughts. So, it's not that I'm terrible at it. I just don't enjoy doing it at any level. And I never learned how to type. So I can't look at the screen and type. I got to look at the keyboard. I don't hunt for the keys, but I got to look at the keys. So then I'm a dyslexic typer. I'll put like all the letters there, but they're in the wrong order. I got to proofread. It's just tedious. It's just really tedious, So, but I do like to share stuff that, I've found useful. So, Joe Bilton, who built the Stalingrad train, was on the Yorkshire Gamers podcast. Is there any pictures or is that just sound? If you ever want to do that article for War Game Magazine, I would write it for you. Yeah, my video, It's like I don't mind doing videos, but I don't like doing videos that like, okay, let's do a rough draft and a layout of how that's too much freaking work, man. That's just too much work. I could be painting things in the middle of doing that. And it's not that I'm that disorganized, because I'm not, but it's just like, oh. I'm just not, either I didn't listen or the teachers didn't do a good job, probably both. Probably I didn't listen. Doing work on top of the work. I just don't really enjoy doing all that stuff. Like I remember one English class I had in college. I ended up like dropping out of it. Never took it. I didn't need it for my degree, but it was keeping a journal. Who the fuck wants to keep a journal? I want to keep a journal. That's annoying, I'm really good about emails and being organized at work, though. But there are some of the later episodes that have video as well as sound. I think it depends on which app you consume it from. Yeah. Yeah, I saw that thing you said, Stalingrad. You do all that is for what a tanker. So there's no infantry. It just seems like, and I read a review of that rule set, and I'm like, this is not the rule set for me. This is not the rule set for me. So I'm like, it's a beautiful scenario, but it's a beautiful scenario, but I just think the rules just don't deserve that. They don't deserve that kind of detail. Because like I'm gonna put the rubble, and the rubble doesn't really matter where it is if it's individual bricks. It's just there for scattered terrain. It's not like you're gonna hide. As a matter of fact, when I'm running this, one of the things I'm gonna ditch right off the bat, unless it's a certain situation to speed the game up, is pose. Because you can either be prone, you can be crouched, or you can be standing. Just eliminating that alone saves a lot of drama. Just eliminate that. I mean, if you got some scenario where some guy is up at the top level and he's prone, he's a sniper, okay. But the next thing it just turns in everybody like, they go prone. It just cut that crap out. See if you even miss it. Um, Good working parts. I always need something to listen to when walking. Yeah, one of you guys told me that they mentioned my channel on one of the podcasts. I forgot which one it is, and I listened to it just in passing. I forget which one it was. I don't know if it was a Yorkshire one or it was another one. It might have been the Yorkshire one. I get Yorkshire mixed up with Storm of Steel. I get those two guys mixed up. I know Storm of Steel doesn't have a podcast. He has his channel, and Yorkshire has a podcast, and they post a lot on Facebook. So I think that's the difference. But I kind of lump them in the same category. That doesn't mean I dislike either one of them. It just, when you say one, I'm thinking, is it the other one? No, it's a different guy. But if you had to choose between What a Tanker and Achtung Panzer, it would be Achtung Panzer. Both are abstract. Well, What a Tanker is the one that I read a review of it, and I think the review was something like 5 things I like about it and 3 things I don't. And it was just very succinct, and it's just way too random. And I don't have a problem with games that are random. I have a problem with games that are random that like, okay, all tanks are the same. Okay, well, that's not random. That's generic. Because there's random stuff that happens. Like in this game, it's random when your turn comes up. And I welcome that kind of stuff. What I don't welcome is, that it doesn't matter whether you have a Panzer II or a Sherman or a Panther, they all move the same distance. No, absolutely not. I can't play that. You're not learning anything. I'm always about learning. Okay, what situation was a Stuart better than a Sherman kind of thing? Well, if you play a game that has those kind of details, you can't play with 24 Shermans. But one of the things this game doesn't have, and I'm planning on adding it, is that minimum distance you can fire the gun from. And what I mean by that is, Tony goes anal. Get ready. I've talked about this before. I don't think it's too anal retentive, considering you're playing an actual scale. There's a distance that this main gun can depress maximum. And if it depresses maximum, you can use your trigonometry, which I never took. I never took trigonometry, not because I avoided it, but I just didn't have a heavy math influence thing in college. But I figured it out on my own. Like I understand the concept. You use trigonometry and figure out how, when you depress the most, what's the closest that gun can hit. And every vehicle will have that. And probably going to do several of them and then realize, oh, okay, they're almost all the same. They're all like, 25 feet or 20 feet or 50 feet or 35 or whatever it is, you know? Because I think that that's an important thing when you're talking about, your main armament, not really vehicles, but, infantry. Like if you fire HE, there's a certain distance where once you get inside that distance, the HE that the Sherman is firing at you can't harm you. I mean, unless it fires and goes right through your body. I mean, short of that, you're too close, it can only go maybe this far away, and then the burst radius is this much. So between here and here, you can't get hurt by the 75 millimeter HE. So, seem really anal retentive? It is, but if it gets put in a form that's easy to understand, the concept is simple. You should think about it. Every time you've been fired at by a tank and you were really close, were you able to be hit? Dear friends, and Alex, a Storm of Steel turns up on Ken, the Yorkshire Gamers Brews from the Binyard Review Podcast. AP exclamation point is comparatively more accurate. Achtung Panzer is comparatively more accurate as there are cards for each tank type and version. Yeah. I've never played. I've seen them play bolt action. And it wasn't for me because of the relative distance between the figures. It's like Warhammer. You can't shoot all the way across the board with a bolt action rifle. And you should be able to. Unless the things are really compressed. And then they told me the vehicles, which I haven't seen, but I've heard that the vehicles are super generic and boring. I'm like, yeah, it's not. I'm too much of a treadhead for that. But that's okay. I don't poo-poo other people for playing it, Just like I don't care if you still play DBA. I really don't have anything bad to say about DBA other than I'm tired of being mortified by it, Let somebody else take over. I noticed the local players at our convention with the DBA has not grown in any kind of strength ever since I stopped playing it. The only way that game is really going to take off is if somebody comes up with an unofficial guide. And it's still, even if the game was easy to understand, there's some people that don't like the fact that you're moving around regiments. That each stand is like a regiment or a battalion or whatever. It's a lot of folks. Some people don't. That doesn't appeal to them. Some people want to roll a lot of dice. That doesn't appeal to them either. You're not going to make a game that appeals to everybody. The only game that can kind of break that mold a little bit is Warhammer. And I haven't played Warhammer, but because it's so prevalent everywhere. Well, not everywhere, because people that don't play games don't know about it. But you go to a store and they play Warhammer, they may think, hey, that's the only game that's available. So, but I don't think there's one game out there that everybody's got to be playing. Even if there was an unofficial guide or whatever. It's just spread out too thin. Benefits of using Airfix plastics, you can have a model for standing, kneeling, and prone for each character. Did that when playing the World War II rules. Yeah, you could do that if you wanted all your guys to look the same. I have a different character. All my 20s, I don't have any repeat figures. So you get this guy that's Hirsch, this submachine gunner. There's no other figure that looks like him in that pose. There's similar ones. Langer. I have no other figure that looks like Langer. And I got a lot of Germans. I got probably, 30 of them painted and 50 to paint. I don't need that many. But I tell you what, I'm not dying to buy any 20 millimeter figures to paint. I'm happy with the ones I have, and they're not made anymore, really. Those two you can still get, but some of the Battlefield stuff isn't available anymore. Good thing I got them when I got them. And whoever sculpted the Airfix figures, we'll say sculpted because I'm not really sure if that's how they're made. A lot of them are superb sculpts. They really are, and they're old as they're as old as I am. And some of them aren't great, but some of them are superb sculpts. Um, the African Corps and the Desert Rats, both of those are really good. The German infantry, they got some, but they left a lot of gaps. Like I don't think they ever made British infantry, right? That wasn't Eighth Army. So there's definitely some gaps. I know that Eschi, way back, they try to fill in some of their gaps. Their figures are just awkward. They're too necky, and they're almost like in poses that just seem they're almost like Atlantic figures. Their poses are really weird, like Atlantic figures. They did Commandos too. Okay. Yeah, I had. They were MPC, and as a matter of fact, I had a model meeting 2 days ago, and that's one thing that we were talking about the old MPC kits. And in the states, we didn't have Airfix stuff. Back in the early '80s, Airfix stuff, I didn't see it. It was the same molds. It was packaged as MPC. It's basically the same thing, except I think the MPC art was even better. I don't know, and I don't know why they changed the art. All they would have had to do was, I'm sure it was one of those like, okay, well you can bring these guys in, but you got to come through us. Well, who are you? We're the Model Products Company, or whatever it was, and whatever the hell MPC stands for, and that's what they wanted to do. But I had the German infantry, I had the British, the U.S. Airborne, which came molded in blue, annoying. The Marines, the U.S. Marines. I had the Eighth Army, the Africa Corps. Um, what else did I have? Somehow I got a set of the Matchbox. I never saw any Matchbox infantry in stores, never. But I got a hold of some Matchbox Africa Corps. They're a little bit smaller. I prefer actually the Airfix figures a little bit better. What else did I had? I never saw the Russian infantry in stores. Never saw them. Um, Luftwaffe ground crew, RAF ground crew, and that's it. So there's a lot of things that Airfix made that didn't come in NPC form. You know, the best sculpts were the conversions from a 132nd. Pity they never got around to redoing the British paratroopers. What did they do? Take the big figures and just make the small version? So I assume somebody sculpted them the same way, right? I think I have some of the really early Airfix British World War II infantry, very stiff, like the German World War II infantry. Yeah, yeah. The World War II German infantry has, they have that submachine gunner with that made up machine gun that never exists, um, and the one guy that's covering his face. Of course, when I was a kid, the most valuable figure was flamethrowers. Flamethrowers were like the coolest thing, you know. You rarely use them in a war game because you got to get so damn close and personal. But as a kid, I always liked the flamethrowers. The German officer in the Han Solo pose, or really Han Solo in the German officer pose, that was a good sculpt. Their riflemen were good. Um, yeah, I like the Germans better with the tall boots. I do. I don't like the late little short boots. That's just to me the Germans have the tall boots, the taller boots. Let's put it that way. I had a modeler friend that we'd always argue. He always liked the Panzer uniform. I don't. I've never liked the double-breasted thing. And then everything's black, and you got the short boots. Not a fan. But anyhow, only thing worse than a Nazi is a poorly dressed Nazi. No redeeming value whatsoever. No, but Airfix never made British infantry, right? For Northwest Europe or Italy? I don't think they did. But the Desert Rats is a good set. Although, if I remember correctly, their submachine gunner had a Sten, and I don't think they used the Sten in the desert. I think the Sten was later. I could be wrong, but I think they would have used the submachine guns that they would have used, that the Eighth Army would have used, would have been Thompson machine guns. I'm pretty sure Thompson submachine guns. I don't think the Sten came out until like 43. I could be wrong. I'm not a Sten expert, but it seems that way. And no ETO American infantry either. Did they make Japanese? Could be silly to make Marines, but no Japanese. I don't think they ever came in MPC. Did 1/72nd scale 32nd Commandos for a short time. The mold was lost during the time the Heller MPC owned the airfix name, hence why the original scopes were the only ones available. I didn't know Heller. Heller is not known. Heller is like French Lindbergh, in my opinion. When I grew up, Heller stuff sucked. Now there may be some things Heller that are okay, but yeah, I don't remember them being very good. And I really do not have a good impression of Lindbergh. They're they're caca, you know. Um, when I was doing models originally, it was the if you use kind of the MPC as the kind of the standard in the middle. You had the Hasagawa stuff that was better. You had the some Fujimi stuff is really good, and some stuff is like really like weird. I always thought Monogram was better than Revell, but of course we didn't have the Revell of Germany back then. So I thought Monogram was better than Revell, which was better than Lindbergh. Lindbergh was just trash and weird ass scales. Like I got a Battleship Missouri in 542nd scale. Like what? You know? Airfix had made proper British infantry. They did a set in 1970s. It was more early war. That was replaced by a reboxed Eschi. They have a new sculpt of ETO British infantry on the go now. Well, there's definitely some plastic figures that look pretty decent. These guys, and I don't remember who the hell they're made by. I got the box floating around here somewhere. They're a Russian company. These tankers are pretty freaking good looking figures. Um, they really are. Anyhow, can't think of who the hell they are right now. If you say who they are, but oh yeah, those guys. I'm struggling with my vision here. It's like neither this works or this one doesn't work. This isn't so critical. I'm going to have to come back and do a floor color for this anyways. Greetings. Yeah, I can't think of who the name of this manufacturer is, but the stuff looks really good. And actually, all the figures look different. Like they look like different people. And like nobody's like really, really strange looking. The original infantry combat group were based on 132nd Britain's post-war infantry range. When I was a kid, all the toys come from the UK. Because when I was a kid, I saw Britain stuff. I never had Britain's anything. They were too expensive. Like, I didn't come from money. I mean, we weren't poor, but, I tell you what, we didn't eat beans on toast. Oh, we had eggs and rice and beans and rice, but no beans on toast. Oh, man. Well, I'm glad you guys took one for the team, and we're on the winning side of the Second World War. Even though Britain is, as everybody knows, Britain is one of the, according to some people, one of the 10 worst empires ever. Bullshit. I'm not. I'm not falling for that revisionist shit. Oh man. Beans and Toast, the movie. All right, we got to pick an interior color for this thing. Let's see. Let's just do like let's just do like a dark gray, just something that's different than the sidewalk for the time being. It should be like covered in like, what do you call that stuff? We're talking about cooking things. I don't know shit about cooking. Flour, flour and stuff everywhere. Piles of flour and shit. Flower power. Let's take let's get crazy. Let's take this pavement color. And MPC owned Heller at the time that Airfix went bust. See, I didn't even know that Airfix went bust. And bought them and then combined the company ranges headquartered from Heller in France. So at some point, it seems like Airfix is doing well now, right? Did they get back on their own, or they MPC? I don't know the history, but I haven't seen MPC stuff since the late '80s, like '88, maybe something like that. Which glasses do I have on now? I'm about ready to take my contacts out. It's getting a little weird here. Getting hard to focus. Yeah, I don't know about the history of that stuff because I was too young. I was just a kid. You're talking about the '70s. I don't even remember the '70s really well. Fortunately, because people wore some messed up stuff in the '70s. Which, if you had to pick a time period in the United States, where people wore the least weird stuff, I would say it'd have to be the '50s. Things that people wore in the '50s was like, normal looking, like, it wasn't any extreme shit that was worn in the '50s. But I'll tell you what, what was really ugly in the '50s? My opinion, of course, vehicles. I think vehicles from the 1950s are extremely unattractive. I'm sorry if that's your thing. I just find them extremely unattractive. You know? I think vehicles from the 1950s are a lot less attractive than, say, vehicles from the 1940s. Women were unattractive in the 50s. Really? Grace Kelly? Come on, I know. The one. Well, that's the first one that I think of. Women were unattractive in the 50s. I don't know. They could stay, no excuse. They were there, they were home all day long. They could just spend all day to get ready for their husband when they came home from work. I had a mom that never worked outside the home, so as most of us probably did, that are my age. MPC wanted to secure a good selling market range for the U.S. market. Humbrol bought Airfix Ah, okay. From MPC in the late 80s, but went bust again and are now part of Hornby. That reminded me, women were unattractive in the 50s. That reminded me of a friend of mine who was from Ohio. It was a long time ago. He was studying here at the University of Florida. And he said he didn't want to go back because they said there's no pretty women in Ohio. And I'm like, Ohio is not like a place that you could say that from, but whatever. Maybe he's just bitter about something. I don't like women, and we're talking about fashions, 20s. I don't like that flapper fashion. Forget it. I'm not a fan. Not a fan. I need women need to have hair a little bit longer than Ladyboy. Not a fan of the 1920s. When was the poodle skirts? Well, that was like high school kids in the late 50s. Yeah, late 50s. Still better than bell bottoms, man. That bell bottoms is a terrible idea. Poodle skirts. No poodle skirts. That must have been I bet that was an American phenomenon. But there's, throwback phenomenons like that. Like, I don't know if like the Japanese schoolgirls, do they have a uniform? Is that still a thing? Or that's like a manga thing or whatever? Like, I don't think that's that attractive. You know? I'm not into schoolgirls, but sometimes we really don't know what's going on. We're just looking at things from afar. I know my daughter, when she was she had preschool. She went to preschool at a Catholic school. And at the time, she had to leave that school because her grandfather was taking her. And she had kind of like, and he passed away. So she always had this association with that school that she didn't like. And there's that particular school. And the uniform at that particular school was absolutely horrendously bad. She ended up graduating from a Catholic high school. Their uniform was fine. Nothing wrong with that. But the elementary and middle school uniform at that school was absolutely terrible. They must have like it was like the worst plaid combined. It was just a mixture of really bad ideas. You know, it's probably some grumpy nun came up with it or something like that. One of the pool skirts. I dig short hair. Don't be hating, Tony. Well, it depends on as a general like the 20s. Nah, I'm not a fan of them flapper women. Sorry, you can have them all, man. Jinkos take the cake for worst jeans ever. What the heck is that? Okay, all right. We're not using the computer, so we got to look at the computer. Jinkos. All right. Great. Now we're gonna have a fashion show. Look, there's a lot of fashions. Just like, what the hell's wrong with you? Japan school have uniforms up until college. You'll be in Tokyo in a month. Well, hopefully they don't have any earthquakes, man. Don't get shoved in a subway. Um, Before you came on, I'm reading the Killing the Rising Sun. I think that's what it's called, and they're talking about the nuclear bomb. I have a lot of trouble reading that stuff. I mean, I have a really hard time with it. It's bad, and I just have a problem with like horrible things like that happen to innocent people. I know that they're not complete, but it just I have a really hard time reading that nuclear war shit. Really bad time. Jinkos, that's how you spell it? Never heard of that. I bet I know what it is. I just didn't know what they're called. Jinkos. Worst being Jinco? Jinkos. Jinko. Oh, JNCO pants. Let's see what we got here. Oh, that's horrible. That's horrendous. Super bell bottom. Here's one dude you can't tell if he's got his pants on the ground, and that's how they're supposed to ride. Yeah, that's a terrible idea. The original wide leg, no. No, no bueno. I bet you could fit like a 2 liter in one of those back pockets. Oh, man. I'm not hip to know. Hmm. I didn't get to wear fashionable stuff when I was a kid. You're putting these pants on. Mom, all the kids are wearing. I mean, we weren't poor, but I didn't get spoiled like we spoil our daughter, or all the kids get spoiled these days. My daughter's not that spoiled, but still, she's allowed to wear trendy stuff. I didn't get to. My parents weren't from this country. You're lucky you have clothes on, that kind of stuff. The JNCOs were popular when I was growing up with the alternative crowd. I wanted some as a kid, but my parents weren't into buying trendy stuff. Yeah. I don't think my parents ever bought me name brand sneakers. Ever. Yeah, I don't think I ever had like Adidas or Nikes growing up. I just didn't. Like, you're not buying $50 pair of shoes. I just didn't have them. And now, I mean, you just kind of get used to it. Now it's kind of like I don't buy stuff at full price. Like I'll buy fashion stuff, but I'll go to the outlets. Like, I don't care if it's last year's fashion, you know. And some name brand things are made better. There's no doubt about it. And maybe it's not that they're made better, but it's some stuff that isn't name brand is made in a shittier way. Maybe the name brand stuff is made more like the things used to be back then. I don't know. But I don't go and pay full price for stuff. I mean, if I need something, like oh shit, I got to go to a funeral, I got to buy a suit. Well, you got to buy a suit no matter what it costs, right? But if you don't need any clothes, which most of the time we don't need any, fortunately, then I'll go somewhere that has it. It's still the name brand thing, but I don't go to a name brand store. Like, I'm a fan of Adidas sneakers. Not all of them, just the ones that I tend to like happen to be Adidas. They fit me well. They have a logo without having a logo. Okay, so it's not like, now some of them have a bunch of shit written all over them, but I happen to like Adidas sneakers. I don't think I've ever spent more than $60 for a pair of sneakers ever. There's just no need to. You just now. If I didn't have any shoes, but I'm like, I get. You need to protect the money that you spend your life doing. You just need to be smart. Well, you can do whatever you want. That's my reasoning behind it. Well, What are we going to do back here? I'm seeing like part of a something or another that's visible. And I swear, the back of this looks like the Alamo. This looks like the Alamo or some shit like that. And this actually has a little bit of a green tint to it. And I did it on purpose, so it looks a little bit different on the inside than some of the other ones. My dad would buy us name brand sneakers. Sometimes they're on sale. Well, you had a cool dad. Does look a little Alamo-ish. Yeah. Yeah, it does. I think that, so I think a lot of these buildings, these in particular, go both ways, meaning they could be Russia, they could be, France. I had to go with red. If I specifically was doing it for France, I would not have done red brick because even though there is red brick, it seems to be more common in other places other than France. But I do want them to go both ways. At some point, I may need to use them for Russian buildings, so that's why these are actually removable. Okay. I don't know that I need to paint the inside of the wall, but I am going to paint these little markings on here. Where is this is I need to move this somewhere else because that if something's going to spill, it's going to be this bastard. Let's put it over to the left-hand side of me. Things are usually safer the left-hand side of me. I'm excruciatingly right-handed. I don't know how I was able to pick that up with my left hand. That was a miracle. Minor. You got any new suggestions for me to watch, man? You always have good suggestions. You said you were going to suggest something the other day, and then you watch and like, nah, it's no good. Yeah, don't pick something shitty because I'll be like, yeah, you used to have good suggestions, but everything you suggest now is garbage. Hey, it's not your fault. There's a lot of programming that's just crap out there. I got a whole weekend to myself. I can't spend the whole weekend painting. I mean, I get to get out of this whole thing. Does a sign say anything or is it gibberish? No, it says boulangerie, which is a laundry for bread. I think that's what it sounds like. That's what it should be. Oppenheimer, but I know you won't want to watch it. No. No, I don't know anything about Oppenheimer, but it does touch on him in this book I'm reading. And I'm just not interested at all. And I mean, it's all like black coffee, smoking, not eating. Like, yeah, you don't want me watching that. So when my daughter gets back, we've watched now Masters of the Year, Band of Brothers, and The Pacific. We just finished The Pacific. We're going to roll into The Forgotten Battle. Probably going to do that one next. And we'll see what else. Oh, we did watch that silly Tom Hanks one. Before she watched any of those, that Greyhound one. Not a fan. Have I seen The Cable Guy? I have not. I have not seen The Cable Guy. As a matter of fact, lots of people, way back when it came out, said that it was pretty good. You could do better than The Cable Guy. Come on, man. That's obviously Carrie. Who plays the other guy? Is it? I want to say it's Matthew Broderick. Am I right? Cable Guy's pretty good and a little creepy. It's only creepy if you can't kill somebody with a firearm. Man, that guy's creepy. Yeah, take him out. You know which movie I saw? I know I've mentioned this before. I saw it twice in the movie theater, which was really unusual back in the day. Because I didn't go to very many movies as a kid, and I'm certainly not. You mean you want to watch the movie a second time? But I watch it with different people. And I saw it in the last couple of years, showed it to my daughter, and she didn't care for it. And I thought it still was good, and that's Misery. I thought Misery was great. But it's not a horror flick. If this is a horror flick, I don't want to see it. Um, I don't want to see horror stuff. I don't need that kind of stress in my life. Your girlfriend and I are going to watch Misery soon. Idiocracy. So you have asked, and I need to write that one down because lots of people have recommended that one to me, and that's one that I don't think about. Doesn't come. We'll make a heading on here. Tony's movie list. All right, I'm gonna put Cable Guy on here. The Cable Guy, and what was the one you just suggested? Idiocracy. Idiocracy. Right. There's a couple movies that I keep wanting to watch that have escaped me. I don't know if I'll like them at all. I've never seen The Purge. I want to see The Purge. You know, that's one of those movies that my wife. I can watch that. I'm like, it doesn't bother me. But it might be one of those after I see it, I'm like, this isn't worth my time. And I don't think it's something that my daughter is going to want to watch, or maybe that I even want her to see. Something's going on with the windows here. This is the entranceway. And this is the window. Okay, I didn't put the windows here because you're going to be physically here. You're not going to be on this space. If you're in these windows shooting out, your figure will be here, not there, because as soon as you put it down, they get squashed. That's why it's painted black. Like, nothing to see here. That Arctic convoy sounds interesting. Somebody said that it was in the Baltic. It better not be in the Baltic because that's bullshit. That no fly. That no fly. Okay, so here, this is the closet. You can have a guy in a closet. No, you can have a guy in a closet here, but you can't have one in here because he no fit. And this is the wall. I don't want to paint it all black because then it's kind of like confusing as to what exactly is going on. Although I think I'm going to take this area, I'm going to paint that in black so that it's not confusing as to what can and can't be done. There's literally space for one guy to be in here. Like, ha! I know he's a little bit bigger than that, but we'll allow it. Is the base of the building kind of warped on that one corner? No, it's warped on that corner. Yeah, it's definitely. And this building leans forward a little bit. Yeah, it is definitely warped on that corner. Let's see if I can. That's why you look at it like, your lines aren't straight. Well, that's where the building is. It's an imperfect building. So we're going to paint all this like it's not occupiable. But yet this is occupiable. It's it's not really that. It doesn't really bug me because they're destroyed looking. If they were in good shape, I'd be like, that's just a stupid looking building, you know. So um, back to this. You know, for the sake of clarity, we're going to need some of this. But we're also going to need, where's my brick red? No, it's over here. What is unfortunate is it seems like I'm spending a whole lot of time doing these floors. And maybe, it's unfortunate, but let's say these had a floors built in and I needed to put a sidewalk. Now I need free floating sidewalks. That's probably worse. That's probably even more work. So I don't know. Um, but then it may not have occurred to me to even put sidewalks down if I didn't need to put the floor on. Anyways, it is what it is. You know, I'm developing some interesting skills while I'm doing this. I don't know. Sounds good on paper. Let's use this brush here. And we're going to I'm going to get a height advantage on this. I see what I'm working on. I generally don't like having the seat jacked that far up because what ends up happening is I end up bending my neck too much and get a neck ache that I don't know where it came from. It's like, oh, that's right, because I forgot to reset my thing. So we're going to paint this wall like it's made of brick. And it's not really necessary, but it just provides some clarity. And what I'm going to do is this area along this, that'll also be brick, along with this here. So let's, shit, it's almost like I need clean water over here. No, this is not rocket science. So you liked Oppenheimer, huh? My daughter went to go see it and said it was long as shit and doesn't show the bomb or. And then all of this, I'm going to combine this together. And because you don't really know if there's a closet in here, I needed to kind of show it this way because otherwise it'd be like, now what's that over there that you can put a figure in? Oh, that's the closet. Parts you didn't like, but I thought it was a good movie. Okay. Um, you know what movie I saw that I thought was excellent? I saw it on the plane. 1917. I really like 1917. I was surprised. I thought it was better than the German one. Now, there's parts of 1917 I didn't care for, like when they were in that town, that just town, and like there was Germans right there. It was just parts of it just seemed a little ironic, but I thought it was a good movie. Hope that's on the plane when I'm flying early August. I don't care. It doesn't show the actual bombing. Oppenheimer wasn't there, but the movie does show the bomb in a way. Yeah, I thought 1917 was really good. And the previews don't do it justice because what's his face? Um, Cumberbatch whatever his name is. Um, yeah, he's in the movie, but he's in the movie for like a minute and a half, and it's towards the end of the movie. So I figured, oh, it's just going to be a familiar face. No, they didn't. I don't know who the actors are. I didn't recognize them in anything. So I'm a fan of that. And I also saw Napoleon. That was don't watch that. don't watch it. I enjoy it when I don't recognize the actor. Me too. Me too. Because so many actors are just so bad at changing, at pretending to be somebody else, which is weird because that's what we pay you for. You know? Okay. This is the solid part, and this is the window. Okay, so this is solid right here. And then that's a window, and then this is a solid part. And clean this up in a little bit. And then this is the corner. Yeah, but I like 1917. I don't think I've mentioned that before. I watched that when? When the hell did I watch that? It must have been on the way back from. It had to be on the way back from Mexico. Yeah, because the cruise we didn't do any flying for that. We just get on our happy ass, just drive down there and get on the vessel. And there's some unpredictability in 1917, and that's always fresh. Gladiator 2, not far off. I saw one preview and I really don't want to see the movie. And I love the first movie. The first movie isn't perfect, but the first movie is as good as you're going to get from Hollywood. You're not going to get a better movie. If you don't like Saving Private Ryan, you're never going to get a better World War II movie than Saving Private Ryan. It's just not going to happen. They're always going to get some shit wrong. They're always going to want to change reality. So you understand they're going to do that anyways. So it's not going to get they're not going to get as many things right as some of those movies. So at some point you just got to give a little. The first Gladiator, everybody that I talk to always loves Joaquin. And I'm like, anybody could have played, lots of people could play that character. And I am not a fan of the Australian dude. And that doesn't mean I dislike him. He just doesn't do anything for me. Except in that role. He was fucking great. I wanted him to pay them back for all the shit that ungrateful, it's a Belisarius story, basically. It's a Belisarius story, except that Belisarius' family wasn't killed. It was like, go and pay those mothers back. Especially like the second, I can understand the emperor being like, oh, that guy's making me look bad. I'll show him. But like the guy that was the second in command fucked him too. I'm like, not cool, man. Not cool. Anyways, he was cast extremely well in that. And yes, it helped that he was the Spaniard. Although technically he would be Hispanic, wouldn't he? Literally. Anyways, I am a fan of that movie. I hated the Eagle. Why does it say I'm live? I've been live. Did we have a problem? I did not like the Eagle. I did like the one with Fassbender in it. I like that one too. Centurion. I think Centurion's a great movie. Um, I did not like the Eagle. I don't like that dude that's all neck, whatever his name is, Tatum. I do not like him. I do not like him as an actor. He just doesn't do anything for me. And the story was just extra hokey. By that logic, your favorite from Highlander is Sean Connery. No, I remember when the Highlander came out. I've only seen the movie one time. I was not a fan of the movie. It's just not my kind of movie. And back in the day, everybody liked that movie. Um, yeah, that's a strange sounding Spaniard. Who else was a weird Spaniard that's in something? Oh, that Russian propaganda movie, 1612, has a Spaniard that's out there in frickin' Russia. Like, we couldn't even get the Dutch to shut the hell up. Why would we be messing around in Russia? We're having trouble with just the little Dutch boys, man. Russian movies are the worst. Now they do a great job of like vehicles. Like somebody out there's like, no, we got to make these pencils look exactly right. Hey, I value that, but the story is just bunk. You'll not be rushing to see Fly Me to the Moon. No, no, he's terrible. I don't like Johansson either. I don't know how the hell. Somebody posted on Facebook. One of you guys posted on Facebook that saw it and said it was terrible. And I'm like, I didn't know who was in it. And I'm like, oh yeah, I wouldn't watch a movie of those two people. Like, no. What's that say? Like the moon landing is fake? What's an interesting? That's an interesting concept for a movie. Yeah, I'm not a fan. He should only play linebackers in movies. I knew several people that loved Highlander, and I'm like, come on, man. Oh, you know what movie I need to show my daughter that she probably would appreciate is the one with Edward Fox as the Jackal. That's a good freaking movie. That's a really good movie. That's a really good movie. Oh, we got lots of stuff to see because we can watch um, the Wild Geese. We could watch, yeah, yeah. There's a whole lot of movies. There's a whole lot of movies to, not movies that are perfect, but they're entertaining. It's a rom-com heist movie. The plot is irrelevant. Long Legs, Maxine, Twisters, and Despicable Me 4 have been my movies for this week. Long Legs. What the hell is Long Legs? Maxine, Twisters. Is that a sequel to Twister? Despicable Me 4. I fell asleep in the Minions one. The first Despicable Me was pretty decent. We have an update? Nope. Another time. Bugger off. What the hell is Twisters? Is that a sequel to Twister? Twisters. Yep. Looks like it's a sequel to Twisters. Well, who the hell is in this? Oh, that's a guy I don't know, but my daughter knows who he is. Okay. All right. Long legs, one word, okay? Long legs. It's a movie about midgets. Horror mystery. Nicolas Cage, you can't be any good. Discovers a series of occult clues she must solve. Oh boy. One of them 7 type things. Okay. What's the other one? Maxine, 2 X's. Not 3 X's? Maxine. Double X, not triple X. Oh, it is triple X. Slasher film. Okay, and Despicable Me 4. Okay. Have you and your daughter watched Kubo? No, but let's see. What is Kubo? Kubo. So we went to somebody's birthday a couple of weeks ago. This lady friend of my wife. She's actually pretty cool. And it was her birthday. She's widowed. She's not. She's maybe 2 years older than me. So it was a freak accident. Cancer related thing. But anyhow, so she had lots of people over from her work, eclectic group of people. And one of them was saying that they were a member of a classic movie club. And I started thinking, I'm like, it would be cool to talk about movies, watch old movies. Then, but my wife is just terrible. She wouldn't be able to commit. Now, there's some movies that I just think it would be cool to like watch it and then talk to. It'd be like a book club, but not having to read a damn book. Because I wouldn't mind. There's lots of classic movies I've not seen. I'd even be willing to watch a black and white movie. But my wife is just terrible. My wife is great at a lot of things. Watching movies isn't one of them. And she freely admits that she is not good at that. So, Kubo and the 2 Strings. Why does that look familiar? Oh, I think we like the art. But no, I don't think she enjoyed it. Why do I keep seeing Twisters? That's an old movie. Not an old movie. 95. I guess maybe that is an old movie. Try her. She's already seen The Eagle Has Landed. We've already seen The Eagle Has Landed. I can't think what it's called, but the modern movie about the deception of the Sicily landings. Oh, okay. It's a standalone sequel, but no original cast survived. Kubo, stop motion animation, none of those movies is fun for everyone. I've been trying to get my friends to do like a movie a month and get another online and talk about what we liked, but never get their shit together. Operation Mincemeat. Battle of Britain. I really disliked Battle of Britain. Oh, how could you say that? Well, I watched it too late. I watched it while I was working out in the gym in probably September of last year for the first time. Two-thirds of the way through the movie, there's that whole fighting sequence in the air that was all set to classical music, seemed really out of place. It's really weird having like all the German parts, and they're like, I guess I can handle the Germans being like, hold the door if it's Hogan's Heroes, but anything more than that, yeah, I really didn't like it. I really didn't. I like Christopher Plummer, and I thought his character was neither here nor there. There wasn't anything that really grabbed me, you know. Robert Shaw makes a better German than a Brit. Sorry. Yeah, as a matter of fact, the other day I asked her, I said, have you seen the movie where they try to, the paratroopers kill Churchill? And saying, yeah, yeah, you saw that one. I'm like, oh, so she remembered it. Yeah. That's probably the time where I wanted her to see a war movie, but not something that was like gory. You know, it's an older movie, so it's not like, it's not like super violent or anything. She can handle the violent stuff now, but as long as it's not that one guy in Save It Private Ryan on the stairs where he just freezes and doesn't shoot anybody. If you even mention that guy, she's like, just go off on like, I can't believe that pussy is this down here. I'm like, wow, yeah, that's right. Get him. It's okay to be scared, man, but if you're armed and your back's up against the wall, you need to defend yourself, man. It's time to step up. We were watching the Pacific. We just got finished watching the Pacific, and I was actually really surprised. First of all, I watched this is the second time watching it. I watched it when it was live, and I don't remember much about the movie and about the series. And I'm glad because it was kind of like a new series for me. And like I don't remember who the details of who did what or whatever, but it was interesting seeing some of the characters that could have just as easily turned into a sissy. Basically, it was like sink or swim, and they stepped it up, and it was nice. That was one of the only pieces of original soundtrack that survived. The soundtrack was rewritten following test screenings as the original soundtrack had many air combat scenes without music. Well, I didn't hear the original ones, but I think I'd like them better. It just seemed really out of place. But hey, I'm watching a movie from 1969 for the first time 50 years later. I'm just doing quick math. 60 years later, might be even more than that. So, you know. And some things that, even though are hokey, if you have a childhood memory associated with them, you're more willing to accept that they're okay because there's some history that you have behind them. Okay, first example, I'm going to say the Star Wars movies. If we watch Star Wars for the first time now, you'd probably be like, well, that's a piece of shit, Muppets, that kind of stuff. But, we grew up with it as being freaking kids, so there's this nostalgia type of thing to it. Um, the same thing with Guns and Navarone. If I saw Guns and Navarone for the first time now, I'd be like, huh. But for me, that is the classic war movie that was always on TBS, and I've seen it, I don't know, 7, 8 times probably. I haven't seen it in a long time, but um, when I was a kid, now I don't rewatch anything, because we have options. Or back then, it was like, if you wanted to watch TV on Sunday morning, which you do when you're a kid, you got to watch Lost in Space. Do I like science fiction? No, but it was either that or you don't watch anything. So you watched it, you know? I probably would have watched Star Trek too if it was available, if it was playing at any time when I was a kid, but I haven't lived in huge metropolitan areas, so they might be available on other channels that aren't available in my area, or that weren't available in my area. I think Star Wars would blow me away right now if I saw it for the first time. They have some great practical special effects. Well, the Muppet stuff, My brother keeps saying he's got his best friend is like a Star Wars, almost a Star Wars acolyte. And I'm talking about the old stuff, not the, oh wait, one of the new movies is called Acolyte. Anyways, his family is huge. They had a lot of kids, and they're huge in Star Wars, like freaking huge. But the old ones, the original three, five, 4, 5, 6. So, he didn't see it for the first time until he was much older. I don't know how old he was, but a teenager. maybe even a late teenager, and he's like, "It's just a bunch of Muppets." So he never appreciated it, and he didn't have any childhood memories of that. Okay, I'm going to leave that as is for the time being. Let's see what we got here. And then without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and give it a brown wash. Because now that I know that that's the direction that we went into, all right, I'm going to go ahead and do that now. And that was I just used strong tone, went over it. I was afraid of this paint bleeding off. But it's not really important. You just go over it. And by I meant the cracks on the sidewalk. Where is strong tone? Strong tone is up here. The top of this will work. I think had I not seen it, the one that would have blown me away, especially with your recommendations, would have been The Village. The Village would have caught me off guard completely. I would have been like, "Oh my god!" And I knew it was going to happen. And you know what? If I didn't know that movie had that twist, I wouldn't have watched it because those creatures fall, or that those costumes of those creatures fall into that category of shit I don't want to deal with. Okay, that's some demonic looking shit. Um, and As a matter of fact, that the plot of that movie reminds me of a ghost story that was told to me in my fifth grade. I never liked my teachers that I had growing up. There's some college teachers that I like. There's a master, one of them who's masterful. Okay, but growing up, I hated almost all my teachers. Um, and except my fifth grade teacher. He was a dude, which is unusual. This would have been 1981, 81, 80, something like that. And anyways, he, for whatever reason, had this pretty graphic ghost story that he would tell. And I don't remember what the details of it. I'm sure it's not one he made up, but um, basically the gist of it is it involves this like town that these people keep getting found out killed, and the plot. I'm just going to rush all the way to the plot because I don't remember exactly what the details is. It's basically the grandmother in a wheelchair. It's the guy's grandmother, like the protagonist's grandmother is in a wheelchair, and because something happens throughout where they catch this creature and they chop its arms off, and they cuts the end of the scene is basically this woman in a wheelchair wearing a shawl, and she has no arms, it's just dripping blood. So that was kind of how it was found. So it's kind of like that whole like haha at the last minute. Yeah, you can't trust a grandmother. I haven't thought about that in a long time. What was the name of that story? And now that I think about it, is unless he pulled it out of his ass, there's probably I could probably find it on the internet. But I remember I'm like 10 years old hearing this. I'm like, that's like some demented shit. A grandmother. I had two grandmothers living with me at the time. It's like, I gotta watch out for those. What was it called? Something June bug, something or another. God, what was the name of that story? I ran into that teacher in the mid '90s. So at that point, it had already been 10, 15 years later. and he remembered who I was and all that. And and yeah, he's still around. But I think I kind of did the math, and he must have been like in his early 20s when he was teaching. I was like 10, and I mean he's not close to dying age, of natural causes. So he must have been pretty young. He must have been in his 23 or 24, whatever. He's teaching fifth grade. Yeah, you can't tell stories like that in fifth grade anymore, unless you're gonna dress in drag. Oh, I mean, no, that's that kind of stuff is like that'll mess with you if you're like 10 years, 8 years old, stuff like that. Especially back then when the only thing you were scared of back then was the freaking commies. That was it. We didn't have stuff to worry about. You don't hear about demented stuff. Demented stuff may have happened, but we didn't hear about it. Ah, fuck me, I forgot a step. I was supposed to do a dry brush on this thing. I could do it afterwards and rewash it. Hey, we're learning as we go. See, this is why I can't write papers. I'm not following the procedure. You didn't see the original three Star Wars films, the only updated ones. I did see and enjoy the Battle Beyond the Stars and Excalibur around that time. Excalibur is a movie I just didn't appreciate. I've only tried to watch it one time and I was too young. And remember it being very, very dark. I wouldn't be able to watch it now because the period armor is so off. But like everybody's in that movie, right? There's lots of people that you know of now that are in that movie. Well, let's see how big of a fuck up it is. Let's grab one that has the correct. What's not the correct directions, but the way I did it before. Let's do another one and see if it even looks that different. Let's grab this one. I bet it doesn't even look that different. I value consistency though. It doesn't look that different. It doesn't look that different. Maybe if it really bugs me, I can come in and do some. I just wanted the slabs aren't exactly the same color type of thing. I think it should be fine. I think it should be fine. Although, speaking of which, speaking of Helen Mirren is in that, right? In Excalibur. Speaking of Helen Mirren, she was also in a movie, if I remember correctly, only because I looked it up relatively recently, that I wouldn't mind seeing again just out of curiosity. And it's probably the most shocking movie I've ever seen. And yes, you guessed it, it's Caligula. I saw it at some gathering. We'll call it a party. I must have been close to 21 years old. And I'm like, wow, that was a whole lot of uncircumcised penises. I was like, holy shit. But I'm just curious because apparently there's like different versions of it or whatever. And that torture, I've only seen it one time at that party. That torture device, just that make believe torture device where they stuck people in the ground up to their heads. That kind of stuff, like that bothered me for a while because I'm not necessarily bothered by people being killed. Not that I want to see people. I'm just talking in the movies. But decapitation is just really ugly. Um, I have problems with decapitation. Um, so there's an R-rated version and then the unrated version. The R-rated version is a good movie. The way they kill Caligula's daughter is the brutal kill of the film. I remember they killed somebody, like, right, like somebody was like falling asleep. Some guard was falling asleep, so they made him drink like a bunch of wine and then cut him open or something like that. Um, yeah, that's yeah, I remember that thing with the heads is just like super dorky, not realistic, but you know, I was young and impressionable. Um, I do want to see it again, and not for any pornographic stuff in it, but I remember seeing it. I'm like, what the fuck is Peter O'Toole doing in this fucking porno? Like, I don't think they showed him. I mean, all the main actors, I don't think that they showed any of them naked. Maybe their backside, but it was just the extras doing that stuff. That was like and I like a year ago, I read like, hey, what's the deal with this? Oh, there's multiple versions of it, and there was like this big feud about they showed this version. I'm like, oh my god, there's a whole lot of drama on this freaking thing. Check the R-rated version if you want a semi-regular movie. Okay, yeah, there's no point in watching the X version. I mean, if you want to see that kind of stuff, there's all kinds of stuff like that available for free. I'm just saying, probably with better looking people in it that are in that movie. Just saying. I don't know where you could find it. I mean, other than, somewhere shady. But yeah, I remember when I saw that, I was like, oh fuck, like that's extreme, you know. Well, it's a little different in color. I'm actually okay with it. Now here's the big thing. I'm gonna make a mess here, okay? You're just gonna have to bear with me making a mess. Oh, I have one here that I have not done anything with. So we've got this street. And these don't necessarily have to fit here next to each other, but the fact that they have the sidewalk on both ends means I can make it a corner. I can, I've got some flexibility for it. So we've got this street here that's going to be covered up about a half an inch. And then one thing that makes a huge difference for appearance is we got the bricks, right? Let's make sure, let's tilt this so. Are these kind of wet still? I don't know. These are the really good looking ones, though. These are the ones from yesterday. And you don't glue these things down. You just put them in a couple different places. And that looks pretty decent. I would like to mix some other stuff that's not this stuff as well. Like, I forget what woodland scene is called, talus or whatever. Maybe some light gray ones, a few to kind of mix it up, and I think it'll look. I think it'll look pretty decent. I think those are figures I painted 30 years ago. 30 years ago? 30 years ago. Or 28 years ago. Because I need to put some grass on their stands. Other than that, they have the modern finish as opposed to, oh, the bright green asshole. Let's see if I got a bright green asshole. Hey, you with a bright green asshole. Where do you have some? Let's grab an Americana. No, let's do a brick. Oh, that was a mistake. Don't stack things there and they'll fall. Nothing catastrophic, but okay. I have 4 Brits painted. This is one of them. This is Sharp with an E. Yeah, that just doesn't cut it anymore. This isn't 1995 anymore. But other than that, He's painted well. He's painted as good as I would paint now. He's a little shiny. You need to dull coat him. Dull coat lacquer on him. Yeah, that basing doesn't count. So I got to redo their basing. At that point, I'm gonna switch everybody to. I used to have the base color on their name was green. I'm switching everybody over to the brown. It's just more. If I wanted to be really trendy, I could use the different color for each nation. That's taking things too far. So anyhow, yeah, I think it needs the bricks. I think it needs some kind of rubble. You can't have this. I mean, it needs a lot more than that. You can't have all this destruction and then nothing to show for it on the ground. So let's move this guy out of the way. Yeah, but 16,000 bricks doesn't last long. You could go through them in a heartbeat. But I don't plan on gluing any of them down. So it'll just be like, okay, well, we just need to reuse those, and eventually I'll lose a few a little at a time, and maybe every year I'll have to buy 10,000 or something. I don't know. But anyhow, pretty happy how that looks. I'm probably going to dry brush a lighter color on there and then give it a wash over it, just so there's some differences on there. But even without that, it's not too bad. Need to just have a difference in color here, just so you can tell what's going on. I'll come in there and black line that a little bit more. So when you pull it up, you got to remember, okay, now where are the windows again? You know, it might even be something like, I'll paint these like light blue or something like that, so that you're like, oh, okay, this guy's at the window like this, right? Okay, and he comes in the door. We've got to paint the doorway a little different color, and then okay, well, turn their turns up. Okay, we'll put this back where they go, that kind of thing. You know, and then somebody else goes once these guys turn again. You know, that's my mentality about it, because it is pretty much like a role playing game. It's not, you know, I'm moving a whole platoon at once kind of thing. A little bit, it is a little bit more detailed than that. Yeah. Speaking of Caligula, has Malcolm McDowell been in anything that he always doesn't play a fucking asshole? It seems like he's one of those guys that, like, if he shows up in a movie, you know he's the asshole, right? In the 80s, we had a guy called Ronnie Cox. Anytime Ronnie Cox showed up in the movie, he was either going to be killed or he was the bad guy. You know, the bad guy in RoboCop. He's always a dickhead. Every single time. Typecast as a dickhead. Him and Michael Ironside. Although Michael Ironside technically wasn't a bad guy in Starship Troopers, but that also wasn't the 80s. I remember when that movie came out. I watched it with this girl and her friends, and she hated it, and I thought it was hilarious. But it's all about expectations. McDowell was in SpongeBob. Really? He's in some World War One movie. Even in Star Trek: The Next Generation. Was he an asshole in Star Trek: The Next Generation? My money is that he is. I'm putting my money on that he was. He's in some World War One movie I saw the other day. It's not that old. Haven't seen anybody talk about it though. All right, it's time to move on to another building, for at least for the time being. That's decent, at least for. Oh, I missed the opportunity to put a little British tank on the road while I was at it. Damn it! All right, let's do the factory next. definitely one of my favorite buildings. Even though that door it's supposed to keep everybody out is just wafer thin. Now the question is which one of these is that? Aha, it's this one, isn't it? Why does it feel like a Friday? Well, joke's on me tomorrow. It's definitely not a Friday. He does voice acting for video games like Elder Scrolls. It does feel like a Friday, yeah. He was an Aces. How is Aces High? Is it okay? Now this one's a little different because there's actually this is almost tapered down to nothing, almost. Um, but there is a so I need to define that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over this with a marker. He started off as a rebel bad guy in IF and continued with A Clockwork Orange. I watched a third of Clockwork Orange and I just gave up. I'm just like, this is just a little too surreal for me. I don't remember much about it other than like, I didn't find it disturbing. It was just like, I didn't like that whole eyelash thing. Eggy Wags. Aces High is a great World War I air combat movie on par with the Blue Max. Okay. Well, it's relatively recent, right? I mean, it's like from the 90s or something. I mean, it's not like it's older like the Blue Max. I'm telling you, I was really surprised with 1917. I really like that movie. I don't know if I want to watch it again, but I liked it better than All Quiet on the Western Front. Aces High, 1970. Really? Oh, I'm losing my mind. See, that's why I'm not allowed to do drugs. I won't have any mind left. Okay, so we got Windowlandia over here. Yeah, if you're gonna help this, don't enter from this side. Okay, so again, we have the situation where this needs to just be blacked out. Because the only reason it's there, it's just something that shouldn't even be there. It's just, I could have just as easily cut it off and gone right underneath it, but then you'd have a gap underneath this, so that wouldn't work either. I watch Aces High tonight. You like McDowell a lot. I'm really into World War I planes. You got any albatrosses in it? Okay, so this side I'm going to try. We're going to do this. We're going to do this thing first. All right. Yeah, Aces High is definitely on Amazon. I think it's on Amazon. Amazon or Netflix or one of those things. I'm pretty sure it's on Amazon. I like Amazon because everybody should have Amazon, right? Because why wouldn't you have Amazon Prime? I mean, unless you plan on ordering anything from Amazon, it'd be silly to. Every time I go to the hardware store, I'm like, man, I should have just ordered it on Prime. And it's not because I don't want to do business with the local people, but by the time you burn the gas, realize they don't have it, nobody can help you find anybody. Nobody wants to help you there. It's like, man, no wonder everybody Amazoning everything. I sail the high seas for all my movies. You hate Amazon. It's too expensive. Is it? Well, I don't pay for it. She doesn't tell me how much it costs, so I don't worry about it. Just like the tolls at the turnpike, they're free. I I don't feel a thing. I don't feel a thing. I've always mowed my own lawn, right? Except now. Now, since we have an acre, you can't do it with a push mower. I mean, you'd be out there way too long. It wouldn't be worth it. So I pay, well, so my wife pays somebody to do it because I don't want to pay that kind of money that it costs to do it. So I just forget about it. And it brings zen to me because I've always, because I used to do, my own lawn when I used to, when I was a kid, I went out and mowed the lawn and got the whole $5. And these people want how much? Like, no, I didn't get that kind of money. Now, we're going to put a little bit of a bend in it. And same thing, we're going to do this, so we're going to put a little bit of a bend in it. And then we'll build everything off of that. Amazon used to be a place to find a bargain. Now I just go to eBay and wait the extra 2 or 3 days in shipping and save $3 to $4. I was forced to do lawn work as a kid. I can't stand it as an adult. You know what I can't stand? And I refuse to ever do raking. We had this freaking oak tree in the house that I grew up in, and it was 113 bags of little fucking leaves are like this big. So in other words, when you raked them, they went through the rake several times. I'm not doing that again. I'm not doing it again. I won't. I refuse to rake. I will not rake. Besides, I got my painting hands, man. I don't care how careful you are. You get blisters. It just no. I'm not doing it. Nope. Let somebody else do it. I'm not opposed to doing yard work because I've always done it. But when you moved here, it's an acre. You got to get a riding lawnmower. You know how much those things cost? Exactly. You don't know how much those things cost. They're multiple $1,000s for the privilege of mowing your lawn, and then you need to store it somewhere. I'm like, no, it's time to pay somebody. Time to pay somebody to do it. Can't take the money with you. I don't know if I should do a little curb. I think I am because it's going to look better if I do something like that. And then we're going to have a square here, and we're going to have a square here, and then we're going to have a square there. Okay? And then we're going to have a square. Well, this could end up on a weird break, so I'm okay with that. Since it's destroyed, that doesn't have to be. Yeah, if this part isn't exactly straight, I don't have a problem with that. So that's how we're going to do that. Let's work our way over to this corner. Yeah, things you're forced to do as a kid, you're not a big fan of doing them anymore. And although I don't really mind mowing the lawn, if it takes too much of your weekend, I mean, mm, square, 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 square. Well, that's pretty fucking close. And again, because this is asteroid, it doesn't need to end necessarily right there. This is how redneck I was growing up. All right. My stepdad fixed up a broken lawnmower for me to drive around the neighborhood as a kid. The blade didn't spin either. No, I would have liked that, man. That's not redneck. I would have liked that. Used to drive that riding lawnmower to my friends every day. That's okay. I would have loved that as a kid, man. I had everybody growing up had that what is it, a big wheel, right? I'm talking about when you're little, like 8, 9, 10, 11 years old. I always had a big wheel to go around the neighborhood. And I didn't have cool stuff compared to other kids, except when it came to toys. I had cool toys and some riding stuff. I got a green machine. Look it up. You kind of lean back and you steer by moving backwards and forwards, and the back fin would do. And it was awesome. You could haul ass on that thing. I mean, they had a limited lifespan because the tire makes it sound like it's full of air. The wheel is hollow, so eventually you'll wear through the plastic. But everything was great until I let some kid borrow it, and then he ran too close to the curb and snapped one of the pedals off, so I couldn't use it anymore. So one of those things doesn't work with only one pedal. You can't pedal on one side. You need to. Anyways, some dick kid ruined it for me. Fucker. I never got another one. I had a tractor too. It was like a pedal powered, like John Deere tractor. It was green. It was solid freaking metal. Like that thing was indestructible. I don't know what the hell happened to it. It had like a bicycle chain inside of it or whatever. It was back in the 70s where, they made things like, tanks. Tonka trucks. I had a bunch of Tonka, which is weird because I don't remember like being into like construction shit. I certainly don't want to ever see construction shit again. I see enough construction shit every day. It's a pretty cheap kid to buy for it because you could always make me pretty happy with plastic army men. There you go. Did you care that they were the same poses, just in different colors? I couldn't watch horror movies or scary movies as a kid. My parents were really strict, but I could have all the war toys I wanted. Like war was fair game, you know. Couldn't watch inappropriate stuff, but war stuff wasn't inappropriate. War stuff wasn't inappropriate. I always wanted that Guns and Navarone play set. And the thing was freaking huge. It was as tall as a kid. Of course, it doesn't look anything like the Guns and Navarone at all. I mean, it was like, had like two different guns in it, and they were in two different locations. They weren't next to each other. Because the original ones were like, what, 11-inch guns or something like that? Side by side. No, this was like, one was a big gun, and one was a different gun. And they're both like fucking yellow or some shit. Like, there ain't no gun that's yellow. I mean, there's guns shouldn't be, you shouldn't cast a gun this, a cannon, not a gun, a cannon this color, Even the Italians don't get a gun this color, right? You still have like 90% of my plastic model collection. My favorite plastic Iron Man to find with World War II Germans. I had one Japanese figure, and he was really detailed, so I think he was part of a line. I have mine. somewhere. I have them in my bag. I don't know. I don't think they're in here. I think they're in the garage. I have a huge pile of them. Um, and I have some of my original ones that I've lost a few along the way. Um, I used to have the Africa core set. There's one figure that's holding up a pair of binoculars and he's kind of waving. We always called him Rommel. So I had this little Jeep that he'd ride around with, and it was like a Toyota Jeep that was sand colored. I was this kid. What the hell did I know? Yeah, you had a D-Day set that you're really proud of. Yeah, stuff wasn't done for you. You had to imagine shit. Yeah, I got them somewhere. As a matter of fact, do I still have this? My German mountain troops. That was the other stuff that I had. German mountain troops from Airfix came with. Well, I'm not going to be able to find this, am I? Came with these horses, these pack horses that had these boxes on the side of them. And of course, I never painted any of them because I didn't start painting until I was well past the point of playing with that kind of stuff. But I actually used them in my first DVA camp I ever made. I'm trying to find where the hell I thought my camps were here. I guess they're not. Some of them are, but I guess that one fits in here. But my Spanish camp, what I call my Spanish camp, is made out of styrofoam. It has that on it. I don't know where the hell they are. I still got all my figures from the move. They're in cake pans. I left this. I thought I was going to return them. It's too late now. We're going to keep them. But y'all found it. Here it is. Here's the camps, including the Turkish tent that's been where the emir likes to get violated inside of. This is my first camp ever. The door is made of cardboard. It's made out of this stuff, made to look like it's painted out of wood. Of course, it does have a little thin strip at the top and the bottom. But this little box right here is it's from the Airfix German mountain troops, like the little boxes that fit on the side of the pack horses. Actually looks really good. Anyhow, this is just a styrofoam block. I don't know that I got space to put them in here. This is all my World War II stuff. We'll keep these things for safekeeping in here. One of these days I'm going to be like, let's play basic impetus with these guys or something. But we got to stay on this. This is what we're here for. This is what we need to do next. Yeah, I like this building. This is a good building. It's got 3 floors, right? It does have a floor to that one. I believe it's this one right here. Yep. Yeah, so if they're up on this floor and you need to get the guys here, this you'll probably set off to the side. But when there's nobody there, it gets put back up there. But yeah. We'll go till 9 o'clock, or as you like to call it, 8. Right? You guys are on Central. That Mountain Time zone is just like lame. Like nobody lives there. At least Mountain Time zone in the U.S. Maybe let's see, it would be. There might be part of Mexico that's in it or something like that. I'm sure there's probably more people living in the Mexico part. The Mountain Time zone has got like what? Denver's there. That's the biggest city. It's in that. Arizona, they do what they damn well please. I don't know what the hell they conform to. They don't follow daylight savings or eight's a good time. You got stuff to do. Yeah. Get some stuff done. Did you finish that hospital ship? By the way, I ended up watching that Godzilla movie. I know I already talked about it, but without the daughter. And when she told me it was any good, I basically told her, don't bother watching it. Um, the parts of the heavy cruiser are incredible. I mean, really, that's the whole reason to watch that movie is for the heavy cruiser. I thought that was, I don't know how the hell they did that. Probably with computers. It's really well done. I really enjoyed that part. I don't know if you're into these 700 scale ships. I like them, but the small stuff drives me nuts. I think it's a good scale. I built a lot of 1/600 when I was a kid. Of course, they weren't waterline. The waterline didn't exist when I was a kid, and that's a shame because I would have much preferred, waterline instead of like, hey, let me paint all this stuff that's never seen and glue the propellers on, but I don't care about that stuff. But I think the 1/700 is a good scale. There's a lot of stuff at 1/700 scale. Gato was the Gato in. There must be a fish called the Gato because I think everything in that class is named after fish, and that's cat in Spanish. So is that catfish? Gato. I believe all of the. As a matter of fact, I believe most of the U.S. submarines are named after fish, which honestly is a pretty good nomenclature. I think that's a fair assessment. You don't think you did a good job on it. What glue did you use? Man, the glue that we used to have in the freaking 80s sucked. Especially as a kid, you don't have any patience. I was on another forum and they were talking about gluing stuff on the side of a Sherman turret, and I'm like, use super glue, use all this stuff. So I'm like, hey, I've always had good luck with epoxy, and like, it's stuff's hard to work with. I said, well, yeah, maybe if you let it get away from you, but I don't have any problem with epoxy. I like the idea you glue something and it never unglues from there. Like other parts will break, you'll never have to worry about epoxy freaking letting loose. And you get to adjust it. Like you put it on there and you want to like tinker, like it's not straight. Super glue, it's like you put it on there, you put it, oh, it's not grabbing, grab, and then oh shit, it's up a little bit at an angle. Now I'm up a creek. Now I got to get debonder. Nah, I'm not a fan of super glue. I much prefer epoxy. Now, did I used to prefer epoxy? Absolutely not. Epoxy used to suck and used to make a mess and all that kind of stuff. So if you're gluing it straight from the syringe and you think you're going to be, that's impossible to work with. That's an unpleasant experience right there. Yeah, I already fucked up. I already didn't do the dusting in the other color. Okay, well, we're gonna call this. I don't want to undo everything I just did to do the dry brushing, the light dry brushing on it, just to give it a little bit of a variation. So that's where we're going to pick up next time. Is we'll pick up on that. But this will be the next building that we do. And yeah, let's put some Jerry's up there. Anyhow, thanks for stopping by, folks. I'm glad it was a little bit more successful than yesterday, that I wasn't on for more than a few seconds. So we'll just have to do the phone for a while. But thanks for stopping by, folks, and we'll see you guys on the next one, probably tomorrow. All right. Have a good night. Bye-bye.